Welcome to my channel. It's called Conscious Creation. My focus is on feeling the energies of the collective and reading for those that it resonates with. I will today be reading and doing pick a card. So there'll be 3 different cards laid out. You may choose that you resonate with either pile 2 or pile 3 or pile 1. And from then you'll see how that reading unfolds. So yeah, let's give it a go, and hopefully this reading resonates with those who are looking for certain answers. The tarot deck which I'm using is the Crystal Visions tarot deck, and that'll be the one I'll begin with. I like to lay out cards to begin with before I get into the energies of the stories, because I don't like anything that's going to be predetermined, because the mind can sometimes play. So whatever comes out tends to unfold quite organically in my readings. And I do tend to have a lot of cards falling out, especially if there's a lot to be said or there's a lot going on for each individual or the collective as a whole. Why did I choose the name Conscious Creation? Well, for me, everything is about creating consciously. And I think when you're able to recognize that your energy and whatever you think about, your thoughts, your vibration will actually have an outcome, I think it's really powerful. And why is it powerful? It's because you can actually start to create consciously, manifest consciously. But that doesn't negate that there are times when, you know, your manifestations or your thoughts may not align to exactly what you want. Or there's been several cases where you've got to learn the art of manifestation. And sometimes that actually requires to, you know, really think about what things stand for in your life. What does love stand for? What does success stand for? What does happiness stand for? And we may feel that it might deserve a certain outcome, but actually true happiness, true love, true success can come in various forms. But it's that feeling, and it's that energetic feeling that we get, that we know that we're completely aligned. So yeah, conscious creation is something which I truly believe in, and I try to strive as much as I can to be aware of how I'm creating and how I'm connecting to people. So let's begin. So pile number 1. So right at the, the back of it, I feel like there's a lot happening in terms of the self with pile 1. So those who resonated with this pile, you've got the Queen of Wands. And for me, the wands represent the thoughts, but when she's in reverse, she represents a little bit unbalanced and, unsure and not as strong as she is in her stride. So when you see it upright, intuitively I get a woman or a being who's very strong, very aware, but also very silent in their awareness, which is very powerful, I feel. But when it's in reverse, it's the tip of the balance. Is a little bit of like the Libra energy. You can either be completely aligned and in your balance or completely off your balance. but it's in the mental space for me. There's something very heavy weighing on you right now, something which is really affecting the mind and, you know, tipped your mental space. And why do I feel this is because you've got the Tower that's come up. So there's a lot of change. And what I feel is before 2020, we're all finding as a collective that we're going through this massive change. Things that were there in our lives, structures are all being torn down, and it's trying to really rebuild those foundations. So something has happened in your space or with your awareness, or even as an observer around you, you're observing that things are changing. People are no longer what you thought they were. Situations are no longer how they were, because this is the thing about people, is people change, people grow, people experience different things. Sometimes experiences harden people, sometimes it softens you, it brings you awareness. But I feel in this case that you're going through this massive change, and your thoughts that you thought were there are no longer your foundation. And so you feel like that foundation is really being tipped, and it's really difficult. But what you crave for is this Three of Cups, the sharing of emotions, maybe the sharing of this experience, knowing that there are people out there that also are going through this. And this is part of this channel, is to know that if you're going through a really tough time, that it's all part of the experience. And this is what I feel the Three of Cups for me today is telling me, that it's an emotional, everything has an emotional experience attached. And it's an emotional experience that you will come through and you will balance your thoughts. But it requires a lot of awareness, time and self-reflection in order to get those thoughts back into a structured form, in order to make sense of everything that you're going through right now. And from the Rider-Waite deck, I pulled out this is the card of balance. It's you're juggling at the moment. You're juggling what used to be and what now is. And there's a real art in this form of juggling. The Two of Pentacles is, how do I make sense and find that middle ground? But you will find that middle ground, because you're in that art of finding that point that connects everything, where you can let go of the past and move well into the future. But for those who are going through this right now, a change in their life, know that you will find that point of balance, but you can only do that if you allow yourself the space to reflect, allow yourself to know that there's others that are sharing in this emotional experience, and allow yourself to actually let go of what no longer serves you, to be in a better space of what does. The thing for me about 2020, which I feel I need to mention to those who've picked pile number one, is that it is the time when you will go through this massive changes before. And 2020 is a point where you actually start to integrate these changes. But it's a double digit, so it's a very powerful year. Very, very powerful. And if you're able to find that strike and that middle ground in your mental space, that is, in your mental space, you're able to take the right actions, and you'll be able to feel stronger and more balanced in your approach. And this will be something that you would use in the rest of your experiences thereafter, is knowing that center point and knowing you can come back to. It's almost a theme that you're going through, those who've picked this pile number one, is that it's a theme that you will actually benefit from, because when life throws many different challenges our way for everybody, you'll be able to understand what that center point is. And I think that's something which is very key. But don't be in despair, because you will definitely find it. We move into pile number 2. So you've got the 7 of Cups, you've got Strength in reverse, and when I look at these 2 cards initially, I feel like, again, it's another experience, and I think this is really true for a lot of people right now as they're going through experience, but for you it's strength. For pile number 1 it was to do with thoughts, but for you it's to gather that strength because you're having a lot of action coming in. You've got a lot of wands coming in, a lot of action, a lot of needing for quick movement. It's almost like with the 7 of Cups, if you look at this imagery, and if you really give yourself to really look and feel, it's almost like you can see that this magical dragon is almost, it's your ride, it's your vehicle. But when you're in reverse, it's like you've come to a point, either a burnout, for some of you it might be a burnout, where you feel really burnt out and you don't have that feeling of strength within, and you're being called to do a lot of action. And when we don't have this strength within, almost it requires us to dig deeper and to really find it, but also to reevaluate which actions we take. As opposed to just firing and going everywhere and trying to do everything, which may be something you have been doing. You've been really trying to achieve a lot of different things, and it's been quite difficult because if you don't understand and really decide upon what is important and what is necessary and priority to achieve the goals you want to achieve, you'll be shooting in the dark doing so many different things. And I've got a feeling like you feel, those who have connected with this pile is feeling extremely worn out and burnt out, and it does require you to kind of get back on your feet because you know that you have so much happening. And in order to do that, now would be a point when action's coming in and you've got opportunities and, you know, your thoughts are going wild and you're thinking of so many different things you need to do, and you can't maintain that inner strength which allowed you to do so much. Is that you have to start picking what's right for you. You've got to, it's a very practical thing for those who are experiencing this right now, is actually sit down and write what opportunities are right now at your doorstep and what you need to do to achieve it and what is important, and rank it. I know it sounds like a really simple task, but sometimes when there's so much to process in the mind and you need that strength, you need to know where to use it. You need to know when to use it. You need to know how to use it to be effective. And that's, as you can see in the strength card, you can see how calm they are, but how ready they are to use that strength. And that's what you need to be, tamed and ready. And you can only do that if you understand exactly what opportunities you want to take and what you need to take. So for those who have picked pile 2, the focus would be on really getting back on your dragon, but doing it with this complete awareness and strength of what you need to go out there for. Not trying to achieve every single thing, because what you would have noticed is, if you look back, there are times where you expended your energy and you did so much, but in fact what happened was you ended up burning yourself out. And when you look at the results, it wasn't as effective as you thought at that time. So for those who have actually resonated with this pile, I'm being told to tell you that you need to focus yourself on what would be effective and what's within your grasp. Because when you start focusing on yourself and what you can do and what is important, you start to achieve a lot more because you're doing it at a pace. As opposed to running a marathon straight away, you're doing it at a pace of achievement. So I suggest that those who have looked at this, chosen this pile, should really look at sitting down and really focusing on what they need to do to get that strength back. Pile number 3. So, pile number 3, you've got the King of Pentacles, you've got the Four of Swords, and you've got the King of Wands. Now, I just feel intuitively that I'm speaking to those who are going through a situation between options of people, so romantic situation. And I feel instinctively that there is 2 options in your life right now. You've got the King of Pentacles and you've got the King of Wands, very different characters, focuses on very different things. One is very monetary, achiever. The other one is very in the thoughts, but also achiever, but very quick thinking. But there is a sense of those who this relates to, I feel it, you represent the Four of Swords. I think there's been a pain in the past. It either could be looking at the past and the future with these 2 individuals, and you're caught in between, I feel, and you're caught in this pain. Or it could be that you have options and you've been hurt in the past and it's very difficult to know where to move. If it doesn't relate to those who've chosen it to do with romance, it could be that you are making a decision between 2 things, and the fear and the pain of a past experience is holding you back. And it's holding you back from really, going forth, and it's putting you in this situation of limbo. So this is what I feel, but what I will do is I will try and pull up another card to see if this can really explain this situation. So I've got Ace of Pentacles, and I pulled out the Six of Cups. So again, they're both in reverse. So I feel like it's really an energy that's very difficult to move forward for you, and you're finding it very difficult to kind of move away from this emotional experience that you've had, because I feel in the past it's also given you a lot of happiness, but also a lot of, you felt very powerful, very successful, very, like an ace, like you had it all, and it gave you that high feeling, that feeling that of complete excitement I'm getting from it. But somehow it's a very difficult experience. I feel with these kind of being in this situation, it requires you to really go inside yourself and kind of understand why. Like, why do you hold on to certain things? Why do you remain in a situation of pain? Why do we allow ourselves to be stuck in the past and not look towards the future? Why do we find the future so bleak when we've not even been there? And I think it's a common thing, is we always get afraid that, although we are believers that the future is going to be great, and in the future I'll do this and I'll do that and I'll have this and I'll be with this person, or whatever it may be, what happens is when you're actually in a situation, we kind of fear the future because it's unknown. And maybe that's also because we've had very unprocessed feelings and emotions that we need to really start to look at and unravel. And like I said at the beginning of this video, is that sometimes we need to look at our definitions. What is happiness? What does it mean to us? What does it truly mean to us? And in that sense, we can move out of these feelings, especially if you are in a position where you feel a victim, you feel pain, you feel hurt. By holding on to these feelings, it's only going to drag you down. Life can carry on, but you will always go through it feeling a sense of lack. And with those who've picked this card, it's to know you are everything. You can have everything. And those who are going through the situation where they have options, you have options. You have those who are coming to you, but it's what you need. And you need to look at yourself, your heart, your feelings. I advise those who are in a situation where they have options is before they make any decisions, not to make it in a decision of pain, but to actually make it in a decision of power. And the only way you can do that is by knowing that these swords are not attacking you. You can see in this card, you can see that she's holding the sword, almost like protecting her heart and protecting herself. And she's holding it very tight, and her eyes are closed. And for me, sometimes we go through situations that we don't want with our eyes like shut, because we're so afraid to see something or know something or experience something. So really, it's to be in a space of power, and you can only do that if you find it within yourself to get up, stand up, and really know that you can protect yourself, but also you know what you want. And by knowing what you want is through these experiences. Although we get really hurt by experiences, and they say like love is one of the things that can really hurt us the most because we're in a space of vulnerability, but you are always whole, and no one can take anything from you, and no one can harm you. And it's for you now to really integrate this, because through these experiences, whether it be pain, whether it be options, whatever it may be, you know that you have the tools, and you know that you complete yourself. And I think when making decisions now for the future, when you integrate this, you will feel so much more stronger, and you will be standing up with that sword in your hand, knowing you can protect yourself, but also free from this clutch that you so hold and protect yourself. You will actually be more open and more willing and to experience life, knowing that you can't be hurt or harmed. Working, I feel, for this pile on vulnerability, whether it be romance, whether it be risk-taking in business or whatever you're going through, the key theme here is vulnerability, and knowing that your experiences don't harm you or hurt you because they haven't till date. Yes, we go through really painful experiences, but we're in a world where through contraction of experiences, we contract, we feel pain, we feel lack, we feel all these things. Why? Is because it allows us to expand, because it makes us tap into aspects of ourselves which we didn't know we had until we'd experienced it, until we had found that strength and that power. So for this pile, I would say really focus on your sense of self, and know that you never have lack. There's no less than. You're a strong individual, and no experience can now come and harm you. And the best way is to actually go within yourself and really know that you have all the answers, and you are in complete wholeness. And focus on allowing yourself to now experience without this vulnerability theme being a continued hamper to everything you go through, because it will affect the way you think, the way you feel, So it's really letting go of that in the next few months, or even if you can do it this month. But I know everything takes time and it's a process. And even though people say, well, you can do it now, you know, yes, you can, but it requires this unraveling and this understanding of what you've gone through and how you can actually tap into those real deep psychic work within yourself. And I say those across the re-spread, really focus on what you're dreaming, how you're feeling, what are you listening to, what are people telling you, what information do you take in and do you hold, and do you allow others to paint that canvas of who you are, or are you ready to actually define yourself? And sometimes, you know, even though I say define yourself, it's you have to be open as well to yourself changing, to there never being this set sense of self, but there being a better version. We're always creating better versions, stronger versions, happier versions, and it's to allow yourself that space to do it. So that concludes the re-spread. But what I will do is I feel like it'd be quite interesting to just pull out for those three. So if you picked pile 1, pile 2, or pile 3, it's maybe themes of past lives, or past lives that are actually being triggered or remembered during this time. So let's have a quick look at that. So pile 1, we've got the Native American. I love this idea. I don't know, every time I think about this native, it's a sense of community, sense of feel, sense of self, sense of like wholeness. And for me, I just get this feeling of going into the traditions and rituals and, you know, finding your ritual, which would be really good, I think, as a message for you, is tap into that lifetime where you focused on these rituals and meanings, and let that lead and let that be your anchor of how you go through this period, this month, is really dig and find these traditions and your traditions, create your traditions and your rituals and your daily rituals that actually will help to it would help you to process information and find your balance. Pile number 2, so you've got the Greek Roman, and establishment comes to mind. You know, having that establishment, that knowledge and that power. It was a very strong time, but also very philosophical time, and I feel like that's a beautiful reminder of your depth for those who have picked pile 2. Pile 3 is all about leaving or travel. Again, it's like a reminder of you either leave or go, so it's like those options that come up again. And I love how these cards always seem to talk to the same themes, even though they're different cards being used. But again, it's this option, and it's a road, and it's for you to be able to make that decision. Yeah, that will be an interesting one. So I wonder what choices people are going to make, whether to leave or travel, or whether to a decision between two things, two people, two opportunities.